Guiding Voice podcast, a space where we explore change, healing, and the journey back to your true self. If you've been feeling stuck, held back by limiting beliefs, or caught in cycles of negative thinking, you're not alone. And this is exactly where this podcast meets you. Each episode is designed to gently help you break free from those patterns by sharing something practical, real, and meaningful that you can begin using in your own life. Here we don't just talk, we share tools, insights, and stories that are both inspiring, relatable, and easy to understand, so you can truly connect with them. Most importantly, everything we explore is something you can take away, and you can apply it, so that change isn't just an idea, but something you begin to live. You'll hear from mentors and coaches, authors, teachers, experts, people who have walked through challenges, faced their own struggles, and found a way forward. Their stories are here to open your mind, touch your heart, and inspire your own journey as you listen. My hope is that you feel supported, empowered, and gently guided, because this journey is yours and you don't have to be alone. I send you my love and my blessings as you continue on your path of growth, healing, and transformation. So today I am absolutely delighted to be joined by Rachel Thompson, a Reiki master, certified yoga instructor, and holder of a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. What makes Rachel's story so compelling is that she didn't begin her journey as a believer in energy healing. In fact, quite the opposite. With her academic background rooted in psychology and counseling, she questioned the practices. She didn't know about Reiki or anything more, and she just thought they were just a placebo effect. Yet despite that, she found herself struggling with anxiety and searching for her sense of purpose and fulfillment in her life. She asked questions that conventional approaches simply couldn't answer. Now everything changed for her after she experienced her first Reiki session. A journey that rather unexpectedly began by a chance conversation in a bar, which we'll definitely talk about today. But Reiki and yoga became a deep and healing way in which Rachel discovered not only her own path of well-being, but also what she described, her dharma, her life's purpose, helping others reconnect with themselves and unlock their own natural capacity to heal. So today, Rachel supports clients from all walks of life, combines her understanding of mental health with energy healing and mindful movement to create a compassionate and holistic approach to well-being, something I'm very passionate about. Now, her mission is to make healing accessible and Reiki to empower people to find that greater peace, resilience, and balance in their everyday lives. So today's conversation will be exploring the fascinating relationship between science and spirituality, the role Reiki can play in your emotional healing, and how yoga can support both mental and physical well-being. But most importantly, we will be sharing these practical tools so that each one of us can begin today to cultivate a greater calm, clarity, self-expression. So whether you're completely new to Reiki or you've been on your spiritual journey for years, I know that you are going to take something out of today's beautiful conversation. So make yourself comfortable, take a slow deep breath, and join me in a giving and very warm guided voice podcast. Welcome to Rachel Thompson. Okay, So, so welcome, Rachel. It is an absolute honor to have you in front of me. I absolutely adore you. Thank you for joining the Guiding Voice podcast all the way from Florida.
Yes, thank you for having me on. I'm very excited to flow with this conversation today.
Oh, it's so lovely. And I have my Florida black background ready as well. So we're feeling the summer vibes. It's lovely. Is the weather good in Florida at the minute? Just in case.
It is hot and it's humid. Currently, it's cloudy. So it makes it a little less hot, but very humid. You walk outside and the air is just thick. But
I know. Well, I live on the coast myself anyway, and we've had really, really strong humidity over the last couple of weeks. And I know what you're saying. You just sort of get a sweat on. That's it. Just get a sweat on.
just instantly when you walk outside, you just begin. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, I asked you to come on because, and I am very thankful that you have, because I do listen to your beautiful voice every day, your Reiki meditations. I sink into them. They're just wonderful and beautiful. And we're going to talk about all of these wonderful things. And in my introduction, I said, you're a yoga instructor, a Reiki master. You come from a sort of a clinical mental health counseling background and what have you, and all of that. But you've titled yourself, really, for me, for this podcast, as sort of skeptic to this Reiki master that you are. You've leaned into your calling, your soul purpose, your dharma, as I think you call it, don't you? So we're going to start with the journey. Where did it all begin? So let's start with Reiki Rachel, as I call you, Reiki Rachel. Your childhood. Did you grow up born and bred Florida, or?
I did not. I grew up north, so Pennsylvania, Ohio. My parents got divorced, so I lived in Pennsylvania until I was about 12, almost 13. Then I moved to Ohio, so much colder up there. And I certainly was not raised metaphysically at all. And I had a couple experiences with organized religion that turns me off. And I said, well, if this is, you know, what a higher power is, then I want nothing to do with it, sort of thing. But it's interesting because whenever I was like 10, I started getting into tarot cards. I thought they were like really cool. I got them at Spencer's and I would like do tarot readings at the lunch table and stuff. But then I kind of got out of that because that was like no longer like the cool thing to do. So I just kind of let that be. And then fast forward, I just kind of followed what I thought I should do to be, I don't know, the best Rachel I could be. And that was education. So I went to college, I went to grad school. And in grad school, we had to take an assessment. It was for a wellness, one of the courses based on wellness counseling. My degree is in clinical counseling. And in that, in order to be able to administer assessments, we would take them ourselves first and see. And one of the assessments, I think there were 7 different scales of wellness. So it was like, exercise, diet, those kind of things. But then it also was like social wellness, financial wellness, spiritual wellness. And, I varied on all the scales, but I remember my spiritual wellness being like a 0, like absent, wasn't there. So that's kind of where I started. And after I graduated grad school, it just wasn't a fit. I feel like I always wanted to help people on a soul level. And based on what I knew was available, counseling was it was the best fit for me, what I felt. But whenever I got into the field, not realizing I'm an empath, I'm like soaking up everybody's energy. And it was just too much. Yeah. I was like, I can't do this. And so at first I was working with kids and that was just way, way, way too much. Like I could not, they're like, you need to leave it at work. And I couldn't, I just could not leave it at work. It was constantly in my field, on my mind, the kids, the parents. So then I went into more lighter field of counseling, which was wellness counseling. But it still like wasn't a fit. Like I still was like, there's something like I feel like I'm getting a little closer, but I don't know what that is. So then fast forward some time and I decided to find my life purpose. And I had no idea what that was. And I was really, really stressed because finding your, and I didn't get like, I quit my job. I moved to a different state.
I want to
And
stop you there because that's
yes.
exactly what I was just going to say. You know, we suddenly have that pivotal moment, don't we? We just suddenly know without, it's that guidance that we suddenly know we've got to move. And you literally went to another state and quit your job.
Yep. I quit my job that I had worked, I want to say like 4 to 5 years. So like a bit decent amount of time. And it was okay. I was just never fulfilled. It was just okay.
Yeah.
Um,
You were just working for money, just
yeah.
to pay some bills or whatever, as you thought you should do. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. 100%. But there was a yearning. There was like oh, I don't want to do this forever. Like I want to be fulfilled. And I'll rewind a little bit. I remember in grad school, whenever I was in my internship, I told my internship supervisor I want to wake up and be excited about work every day. I want to look forward to what I'm doing. And she's like, well, nobody has that, Rachel.
Oh no. Yeah. So you sort of got told that is what you should be expecting. Don't be
Mm-hmm.
excited about life.
Yeah,
Okay.
nobody gets to be excited. Just
To be
deal with
honest.
what you got.
Yeah.
But
Ah,
there's a part of me that when somebody tells me I can't do something, then I want to do it even more. So that
lovely.
that was always
Lovely.
in the back of my mind, like, I think I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
how.
Yeah.
So yeah, fast forward, I quit my job, I moved to another state and I didn't get another job. I started pet sitting and then eventually opened up my own pet sitting business, which was a beautiful I'm so grateful for that opportunity because it took me through my spiritual awakening. And it was such a
Really. With the
huge, yeah,
animals, because of that animal connection, possibly?
because yes, yes, that definitely. And also the freedom that I then had. So I'm walking dogs hours a day, a lot of days, and
In
I'm
nature.
listening.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm listening to all this spiritual wisdom and
Yeah.
it's I think I did that for like 4 or 5 years. Like and as I'm doing that, my life purpose is like unveiling itself to me.
Yeah.
Right. So I moved to this different state. I start pet sitting for a source of income while I'm searching for my life purpose. I'm very, very stressed out because I have no idea what it is. But I'm like determined, like I'm like, I have to figure this out. And somebody had told me about Reiki a couple years before. I had no idea what it was. And so I decided to get a session because nothing else was helping my stress.
Was this the lady in the bar scene where you literally,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
But
a
you're
couple
saying it
years,
was a couple of years before. I thought it was like an immediate. Oh no, it was a couple of years before. Wow.
yeah, I want to say it was a maybe 2 years before, something it's around that time frame, not like years and years, but like a year and a half, 2 years before, something like that. This woman came up to me in a bar and she just started talking to me about what she did, and then she started talking about doing Reiki and she was waving her hands in front of me and I felt it. And I was like, I don't know what Reiki is, but it planted the seed
Yeah. Yeah.
that I want to try Reiki because I could feel the energy. And it was like the most random thing. She just came talk to me about Reiki and then went along her way. Like such a divine messenger. Like when
Oh yeah, absolutely. But at the time, you felt it, all of that, but you think about it, there's a time between actually going and exploring it in more depth, and you weren't quite ready to
Mhm.
receive it. You weren't quite ready to hear it. And often when I'm doing my sort of words of wisdom guidance, I'm saying, you might not be ready to listen today, but stay around because It plants a seed. And that's exactly what you've just expressed. That seed was planted. I had a very similar situation with my Buddhism. Literally, I met a lady that wasn't even, I didn't even know, but she had this aura. And I thought, oh, I want to have that aura. I want to have that look. And she said, oh, she's changed her life through chanting. And I thought, and something shifted in me. And I thought, well, I don't know what chanting is. But within a matter of a few months for me, I was chanting because it all shifted into place. I met the lady again through synchronistic situation, and it was meant to be. It's lovely, isn't it, when we think about it?
It really is. And that's such a great point because I hear a lot of times, especially with like certain practices, like you talked about, or certain spiritual text, that people will like buy a book. I hear this a lot of times with Autobiography of a Yogi. They'll buy the book, they'll open it, they'll read like the first page and like, I don't know what they're talking about, like, and just put it down. And then a year, 2 years later, they randomly open it and then they're able to like take it in and understand it.
100% happened to me. I don't know how many times. And it was the same with me with my tarot cards, same as you said as well. I was using, I've got angel cards that I can't even remember where they came from. That's how long I've had them, 20 odd years. And I would just pick them up every now and then and I'd look at them and I'd feel them. Now I'm right into them and they're pride of place in my, in my decks because I just understand them now, but at the time they were just there. They just helped me. Yeah, it's interesting.
It is. And mentioning tarot, I'd always been open to it. So like, although I would never have considered myself spiritual because of my background as a child and things like that, I was always into like, I would get tarot readings. I'd go on vacation and I would get tarot readings because I believed in what they were. I actually made a really big life decision based on a tarot reading. I ended a very long-term relationship that needed to end. And this was like in my early to mid 20s. And I remember the tarot reader just like every card, just reading my situation, all the things I didn't want to see.
Resonated. Yeah.
Deeply. And one thing that tarot readers would always tell me is they would say I'm highly intuitive. They're like, you are very, very intuitive. And I didn't know, I knew what intuitive meant, but I didn't know, like I did not identify as intuitive, but pretty much any reading I ever got, that was something that came up. And now I'm thinking they probably were pulling like the High Priestess or something like that. Like, I'm like, I wonder what tarot card they were pulling when they told me that. But they would always do that. And looking back, I could see how I was intuitive, but I didn't realize it was intuition because I just lived a certain way. I had an inner knowing and I would follow an inner knowing.
Yes, an inner knowing. Yes.
And I didn't realize that was intuition, right? I didn't label that as intuition because I just had always had that. So much of my journey was guided before I really tapped into the spiritual piece. Much of it was guided by that inner knowing, that inner resonance. Like, I have to follow this and I don't know why, sort of thing.
Yes. Oh, me too. 100%. And I'm much older than you and I've honestly all my life and now, but that is the beauty really when we get to an awakening part of our journey where we really start joining the dots, so to speak, and seeing those moments through a timeline, a life plan. Just you going and doing your counseling, you use that psychology knowledge now. You're not necessarily practicing specifically there, but it's part of who you are. It's made up your holistic view, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I can see that with the counseling. And then whenever I was trying to find my life purpose, I tried to start all these different businesses and I learned so much about how to set up a website, how to like do all of the things. And when I was going through that, I just felt like I was constantly failing because nothing was successful yet. But again, I was following that inner knowing. I'm like, I know that it's just going to click into place. I know it if I keep following this. But on the outside looking in, you could see it as many failed attempts. But in each one of those quote unquote failures, which I know they're not, they were stepping stones.
Absolutely. And lessons.
I was gaining so much knowledge of So whenever it did click into place with becoming a Reiki practitioner, I didn't have to start from ground zero. I already had all of this knowledge and wisdom that I was like, I could just hit the ground running pretty much,
Yeah,
which was
absolutely.
lovely.
Yeah, that is fair. I mean, you sort of say Reiki provided that comfortable, soft place to land. It was a tool that you used as part of your journey. And sometimes it was really difficult, but other times there was incredible experiences that motivated you. And I think, anyone who's listening to the Guiding Voice podcast are on this journey or about to embark on a very radical change and just are looking for those answers. And that really is a tool. Reiki is a tool for that answer, and that you found it, but it's not always, bubbles and, and stars, is it? There are going to be moments where you really have to dig deep and reach out for it in greater circumstances.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Whenever I started receiving Reiki, because I was stressed out trying to find my life purpose at first I was like, well, maybe it's just magic and I'll just go in for one session. I'll never have anxiety again. So I had that. It did make me feel really good. It didn't necessarily just wipe away all my problems, but it did make me feel nice. I felt great. I had felt better than I had for a while right after the session and probably for a day or two later. So I started receiving it more consistently. And then the deeper I got into my spiritual practice, the deeper the Reiki took me. And that's when I got into like the shadow work and pieces like that. I followed one spiritual teacher, and she said, when you get serious with God, God gets serious with you. And you can, of course, swap that out for any name that resonates, higher power, meaning that, a lot of times people enter into the spiritual path for many reasons. It could be so many reasons. It could be healing the body, or healing the mind, or following a purpose, or just all these different opportunities that guide them to this path. And I find that the opening, the doorway, you see however expansive it is, and things start to resonate and things start to feel really good. And then often there comes a point where you get more serious about it. And that's whenever you go deeper into your wounds and really deep into the healing and the shadow work. And so Reiki has been a tool that I used for those very enlightening moments, and
Right.
for those very
Very deep.
deep
Yeah.
purging moments.
And can we ask you then for a couple of the examples of those deep purging moments? Because I mean, we all talk about, the shadow side and the dark side, and you know on the other side of that is always a light, but when you're going through it, it's not necessarily going to you're not kind of thinking, oh, it's fine, I'll be fine, and however long it's going to take, you don't. So can you give us some examples of what else you used? I mean, you used your Reiki, but how did you go about it? What did you do?
Oh, I used all of the things. Yeah, I've used so many different things. So in terms of using Reiki to go through that, I would give myself Reiki. Or I also had one of my best friends who I met in Reiki school. We would exchange Reiki, and I trusted her, and I really could go deep in sessions and purging and all that kind of stuff. I felt safe to do that. So I would often either be receiving a session or giving myself a session, and things would come up. Things would really come up from the depths. One, something that really, really stands out as a deep purging healing moment was my father had passed away probably 10, well, no, not 10 years. Uh, well, almost like 9 years before I started Reiki. So almost a decade. And I did not know how to process that. He showed me unconditional love. He was my safe space. Like, I could not process that at the time when I was 20 years old. And so I took a week off college and I went back and I got straight A's. And that was that. And I couldn't even, like, I wouldn't talk about my dad. I wouldn't tell people that he wasn't alive. Like I just couldn't take it for years. And then I do this, like it was like a 2 hour Reiki session on myself, and all of that energy, all of those stuck emotions that were there that had been suppressed just came up. And I knew what it was. I knew what was I was purging and processing. And I had never cried that hard in my entire life. Like I couldn't breathe. Like just literally, I thought I was like suffocating for a second. And I know that sounds intense, but after that, there was still more healing to do because I'd opened. It's not like that just did everything, but I opened all everything that was just stuck in there for almost a decade. I opened it, I allowed it to clear. And then I could really work on, the wounds and the pain from that. And it was no longer scary. I could see it from a place of love and compassion.
Yeah.
Um, and then I could connect with him too, because I couldn't feel him because I was so blocked off. But
Yeah.
then after that, then I could feel his presence and talk to him and ask him for help. So that was one of the biggest healings, purges that Reiki in particular helped me with. But I went through a pretty extensive, I guess, dark night of the soul, as we call it, where it was just a lot of shadows coming up and a lot of traumas and healings. And I'm very grateful that I had healers. My good friend who is the Reiki master, I had her. During that period of time, it was such this journey where I was then finding all these healers that could help me
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
particular things.
Yeah. I call it your soul tribe. And your
Mm-hmm.
soul tribe is people that you can trust. I've had my soul tribe are women, all women, that I have known since my childhood. And they've come back into my life, and they've been in my life, especially in the moments that I've gone through my dark night of the soul. And even now, not all of them are there, but some of them are. And then it's your soul. It's people you trust, people that you can howl with, that
Mm-hmm.
understand that when you're on that bathroom floor at 3 o'clock in the morning and you need somebody to talk to, they're there. And it's not about whether you could do the same back to them necessarily, because that's not what it is. It's just they are your soul tribe. They're gifted to you for that purpose. So I think it's also very important for a lot of people to recognize the importance of allowing people in, first of all, because sometimes you forget that, and opening yourself emotionally to who it's going to be and
Mm-hmm.
trusting them. I think that's very important, especially on this healing journey. So you had somebody, as you say, who you could let heal you because you opened up to that trust of that healing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes, yes. And it can be scary. I know for me, I wasn't used to opening up to
yeah.
allow others to help me in like any capacity.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, you did mention your parents got divorced when you were young and what have you. So, that sort of, spending time with your father was obviously going to be. I guess you lived with your mum, did you? Or
I lived with my mom until I was 12, and then I moved in with my dad.
okay, so you had that sort of, that moment where you missed that value of having his attention, his time. He was gone, and what does
Mhm.
that define you as? And I think that's quite important when we think about healing. A lot of your inner child work starts with those sort of traumas. They are traumas. They are childhood traumas,
Mhm.
definitely. And if you never opened up to people because you maybe never wanted to upset mum, or you never wanted to upset dad because you didn't say too much, you kept quiet about a lot of things, a lot of children go through those sort of moments. And it then becomes an adult thing where I'm not going to really say too much. I'm not going to tell anybody how I'm actually feeling. Yeah, and
Mhm.
Reiki opens that door for you. And of course, then with yoga, I mean, let's talk about you. Do you teach yoga now still?
I don't. So I was doing that when I used to have an office, a Reiki office in Charlotte, North Carolina before I moved to Florida. And it was in a yoga studio. It was so lovely. Yeah, I had my Reiki office and then I would do a lot of group sessions and yoga classes. And I also would teach for another friend of mine who taught like just like a smaller group of people. So it was definitely very much part of my journey, all of that beautiful in-person
Yeah,
experience.
yeah,
But then the pandemic shut down the whole yoga studio. It didn't survive. And I had to shift. And I can see like it, I had so many incredible experiences doing that in-person work in very different capacities and bringing the yoga into it and the yoga practices and understandings that now whenever I teach Reiki, I'm able to really call from all of that part of my journey, those experiences that I had and really share that with the students who take my classes.
yeah.
Um, so now I do everything virtually. So I don't do,
Really?
yeah.
I was going to say to you, so Reiki, of course, in person Reiki is a little bit different feel to what you do online.
Mm-hmm.
So, because obviously, I mean, I have experienced Reiki, and some other people listening might have experienced that Reiki session. Go lie on the table, like you said, your friend would do your healing, and you have that sort of that energy work in person, one to one. But now you do it online, and how have you developed that? How do you feel about that? Give me some insight, because obviously someone here might not have gone to Reiki Rachel on YouTube, and please do because she's amazing. But listening to you, you sort of draw in all sorts of things, and your voice speaks. And how do you sort of translate that energy outwards to someone who's listening? How does it work?
Mm. When I was in Reiki school, they told me that you can channel Reiki into anything. And I got the intuition that maybe I could like channel it into meditations. And I tried. I just pressed record on just a basic recording that you'd record your voice on. And I just channeled Reiki like I would somebody there in person, just through my hands, just channeled it. And then I listened to it. And I'm like, oh, I can feel that. Like this legit works. and, and then I actually went on YouTube and I saw that people were doing that. I had no idea that that existed. And so then whenever I saw other people doing it, then that gave me more self permission to
Yeah,
try and create some of these YouTube videos.
yeah,
And so I started that in 2018, and that's when I had my in person practice. And then, like I said, everything shut down in 2020. And at the end of 2020, I got the intuition that I could continue doing one on ones or I could try to reach as many people with Reiki as possible. And it just felt more aligned with my Dharma to try to reach as many people as possible. So around that same time that I said yes, right? I was given that choice point from source, my higher self, and I said, this is what I want. Then I started a new journey where I had to follow the breadcrumbs of where that was leading me.
yeah.
And I remember taking a walk and I was sitting by a lake and just contemplating, I guess, sort of in a meditative state. And I got the intuition if you can channel Reiki, you can channel anything. They're like, you can channel the energy of this lake, you can channel the energy of Mother Earth. I was like, oh, and that felt right to tap into these different frequencies and begin channeling them into sessions on YouTube. And that's whenever I remember after that, I was like, okay, I'm going to try and channel the moon. And I did. And so I tapped into the frequency. I remember it being in August. So it was like this time in 2020, tapping into the energy of the moon and channeling it into a session. I'm like, oh, that was really cool. Like that was such like, because when you channel energy, you can feel the difference between the different frequencies that you're bringing
100%.
through.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it was a very cool experience and people seemed to like it. And then I got the intuition. I'd always, not always, I had in my spiritual journey began working with the archangels. Um, I had no idea who the archangels were before that. And then I got contacted by Archangel Gabriel. Had no idea who Archangel Gabriel was.
Amazing. Yeah.
And so,
Love it.
I started following that path, and I had worked with them closely myself. And then I got the intuition to start channeling the archangels on for YouTube videos. And so I would do a video for each archangel, and I would call in their energy and channel it through. And people were like that as well. And it was very cool and expansive for me because I could feel like Archangel Raphael's energy is so different than like Jophiel. Like I could just feel the different frequencies and really what that archangel brought forth. And that kind of just started me down this whole new path of more what I do now. So sometimes when I channel a session, it's just pure Reiki.
Yeah.
Reiki is life force energy. Reiki is like the master key. You can use it for pretty much anything, right? But then a lot of times I feel like wanting to do something more specific. So I'll bring in more specific kind of energies and channel those into sessions.
Yeah. It's amazing. You've just really followed your intuition all the time. You're calling, and you really just value working with energy. I'm just still new at a lot of it and what have you, and I got the sort of intuition, the guidance to do this podcast, and I thought, come on, and honestly, I'm not looked back because I have met such beautiful people like yourself. But it's about, really giving others that guiding light, that opportunity, to make changes and to open up to your own gifts, because everyone's got gifts. It's just that we just don't necessarily tap into them, and when you're in that awakening journey, you start suddenly recognizing, I can do this, I can hear things, I can feel things, I can definitely manifest, I can, and you start to really recognize what energy does. I love working with energy, but you've got to get guidance for it, and you're one of those people that guide me. Who guides you? Who are you guided by? Because I know I've seen you, like I've watched you with Jamie Wozniak.
Wozni, yep.
Yeah, oh, I love you and Jamie together on a screen. It's so lovely. You've got such great energy together. So who guides you?
Great question. I have found that I would be guided for a period of time and then often move on from that teacher. So I would say, and I always say that my three main teachers would be Paramahansa Yogananda, who wrote Autobiography of a Yogi, Neville Goddard, who taught Law of Assumption, and Louise Hay. Louise Hay was the very first energy, like really that I tapped into, and so she will always have such a special place in my heart.
Absolutely. Yeah, two out of the three are for me as well. So, absolutely, they are truly angels themselves with their voice and their guidance and their light. And I think back then, it was the very start of the awakening period for people to hear and to take note of. And now, of course, they are our gurus, really, aren't they? They've left such a significant amount of knowledge and help and guidance for all of us. So they often do come up, and maybe that's going to be your legacy one day, Rachel. You'll be leaving.
I love that.
Are you thinking of a book or a film, or what's going on? Because I'm up for a film. If you're up for, I'll come over to Florida, no problem.
I'll let you know. You'll be the first to know.
We'll do a secret.
Yes.
So what are you thinking? What are you going to be doing?
I feel a book. I definitely feel a book. I feel, I've had different ideas for that. I'm not quite sure. I don't know if it's going to be more of a book about spiritual awakening. I feel very aligned with them grounding heaven on earth and what that actually looks like. In my approach, just naturally, not something I aim or try to do, but what I naturally gravitate towards is I like to tap into the teachings, but then how do we apply them? So that's a lot of what inspires my activations on YouTube. I'll tap into the energies. I'm like, now how do we integrate this? How do we use this energy and work with this energy rather than just knowing it is great, knowing it is expansive and it can
Yeah,
really be helpful. But then I always gravitate towards like, okay, so when I think of grounding heaven on earth, what's that look like? How do we really embody that?
yeah.
So yeah, I'm just opening to if there is a book that wants to come through me, I'm open to it.
Oh, that is so lovely. And I'll be the first to buy that one, that's for sure, because I think that's important. It is that step by step guide. A lot of people, how do I go about this? What do I do? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So for you, right now, I mean, what is your sort of routines and what are your rituals? Routine and ritual? Do you like difference? Do you think there's a difference between them, or is it a blend? What do you do to keep
Oh,
you
it's definitely a blend.
energized and
Yeah. I switch it up. It's not that I like have had the same morning routine for like a decade. Like I definitely like flow with it and switch it up depending a lot on the energetics that I'm experiencing. So there were times where I was just wiped out, right? And I just like I would muster up enough, I would go through my own process and I give myself as much rest as possible because I always wanted to still, as much as I could, still create for the collective. So then when I would muster up the energy to do that and really tap in from a clear space, because I always want to tap in with clarity and purity, then I would create something for the collective. And then I would go immediately back into hermit mode. Like I would peek my head out, there's this, I got this intuition, I want to share this, and now I'm going back in my cave, in my shell, because I needed to, because I was just, times of transformation, I was just exhausted, right? There was just so much. Now I would say I have so my morning routine is very much, I like to spend my mornings on me, and then I give in the afternoon, and that's what feels like.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
you too.
yeah, 100%. I have to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you
It's
learn
important
that.
because we don't stop healing. I think you might agree with that. We're always
Hmm.
healing and there's always something to learn. And if you don't give yourself that time, how that love fill your own cup, as we say,
Hmm. Hmm.
you
Yeah,
know?
it's so important. And it's not lazy. And it's not, I think a lot of times people will have these like the voice of the ego or the inner critic, like you're being selfish or you're being lazy or it's no, those are conditioned societal beliefs that I believe are meant to be crumbling. And we're
Yes.
meant to be living in a much more balanced way.
Yes. Well, I think that's why we're all on this awakening journey, this network of people across the world that are saying, no, this is not how life is supposed to be. This is how we want life to be now. And, through practice and understanding and knowledge and learning and study, we all start to realize the importance of making these changes in our lives. Work life balance, it was called a few years ago. Everyone was called work life balance. I mean, COVID was dreadful, but one thing it taught us very strongly was the idea of work life balance, didn't it? You know,
Yes.
I mean, I remember, we're all at home. Oh, I haven't seen anyone for days. Well, no, that's hermit mode. Look after yourself. Be kind to you. Do something for you.
Mhm.
Oh, but I'm sure I should be running around doing something for someone else. No, no. We learned quite a lot, didn't we, as we came out of that?
Absolutely. I think it was one of the most, or I know is one of the most pivotal points,
Yeah.
and many, many levels. But spiritually speaking, it was a huge pivotal shifting point.
Yes.
Um, and
Yes.
I know that before that happened, now that was what shut down my office and all that kind of stuff. And there was a period where I was nervous because I wasn't getting unemployment and my income went just to
Zero.
nothing. It
Yeah.
was just zero.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had to surrender to the universe and say, okay, like I know you'll get me out of this, but I need some help. I need some reassurance. And
Yeah.
I was always provided for. But before that happened, my cup was not filled up. I was so depleted. I was constantly giving. I still had my pet sitting business because I was nervous to let that go and go all in with the Reiki. So I was basically working two full time. I had two full time businesses. I was doing the Reiki, the yoga, and then the pet sitting. And there was no giving back to me.
Yeah.
And I remember that for the first like month of being in lockdown, I just slept so much. Like I needed my energy. I was so depleted. I didn't realize how I was living until it was like just this drastic contrast of not being able to live that way anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do feel like right now we're very much being called to find that what does this balance look like? What is the
Yeah.
most aligned way for us to live and work and all that?
Absolutely, 100%. So, someone here listening now who is battling emotionally, or physically, health wise, something that, let's talk me, for example. So here I am battling away. I've got this lovely growth under my eyelid that's been here for months. And I can't seem to get an appointment with the ophthalmologist at all unless I go and pay, for private. And I think, oh my goodness. So I want to heal myself. So I've asked Archangel Raphael, please help me heal. And he's helped. I mean, my eyes better. I certainly can see out of it again. But the lump is still there, and I'm thinking, what is it? Why is it there? What would you sort of say about that if I had to ask, you know?
On an energetic level, so there's multiple ways to approach something like that. And of course, I'm speaking just energetically. I'm not a doctor.
Yes,
um,
yes. I'm open
but
to the energetic way
yes.
to start with.
So definitely calling on, yeah, Archangel Raphael. Great energy to call on for any kind of healing. And then there would be two other things that I would explore. The first would be, what is the reason for this? Why is this happening? What is it? Either what is it telling me, or what is the connection? There's so many. Have you heard of QHHT, Dolores Cannon hypnosis
Yes,
method?
yes, yes.
So she has her and then all those who studied QHHT and practiced it currently have so many quote unquote success stories of people being healed because they go into this QHHT, which for anybody listening is quantum healing hypnosis technique, where you go into a deep hypnosis and you can access past lives, you can access your higher self, life on other planets, like all that um, really deep spiritual work. And people will access, a past life version of themselves where that was actually the root, right? So it could be a root all the way
Yeah,
back then,
yeah.
or it could be your body expressing a stuck emotion. Like, so I would look into like the eyes or, everything related to that and like really do some contemplation and processing on what could be stuck there,
Mm-hmm,
what's trying to be expressed there.
mm-hmm,
And then the final piece is using manifestation or law of assumption, where you either whatever feels good for you, you visualize it being healed, you affirm anytime you think of it, and you say, I'm so grateful that my eye is completely healed, right? It's really like shifting the focus of from the problem to, oh, I'm so grateful it's healed. Thank you, it's healed. It's so wonderful it's healed, and really shifting your energy and your mind that way. So those would be the three main exploration points, because I think it can fall into any one of those on an energetic basis.
yeah. And I mean, someone who is listening to that now, that was just an example of what I need to be doing, but it can translate to anything. Our emotional well-being, the same thing, finding what is that root cause? What is it that's caused it? What are you not feeling into? Because it is emotion. Energy is emotion. And yoga moves the body, that moves the emotion. And of course, with Reiki as well, it's that healing of that emotion in the body, isn't it?
Mhm.
And that, so our mental minds shift our mind, and what you quite rightly said, say, what am I saying to myself? How am I actually acknowledging this and being kind to my body and kind to myself? And you're quite right. I know all of this, but have I been doing it? No, not really. So thank you
Oh,
for
I
that.
feel you there. Yeah. The knowing it is one thing. It's the practice that is a whole different story.
And sometimes it just takes somebody that you trust to give you that information, even though you might know it, but it says, yeah, oh gosh, yes, that's exactly
Mhm.
right. And you start doing it. So, of course, me now, that's it. I'm doing this. We'll watch this eye. We'll see. We'll clear it up. I won't need an ophthalmologist. He can keep his appointments.
Exactly. It's already healed.
It's already healed. I'm
Mhm.
absolutely fine with that. Absolutely amazing. So, have you ever experienced something? I mean, you talked about your dark night of the soul. Let's talk about, just before we finishing up and what have you, the sort of highlights, those wow moments, those experiences. You experienced something that you just can't explain necessarily. You're going to give it a good try for me now, but one of those magical wow moments that really sets you into your path, your soul purpose. Have you got an example for us?
Ooh, I have plenty. I'm just trying to pick
Yeah,
some of
we
the
don't
good
mind how
ones.
many.
How much time do we have? A whole other
Yeah.
hour for this.
Oh, whatever. We'll forget about your other appointments.
Yeah, I'll have to cancel that. Um, so I'll talk about a couple key pieces. The first would be I talked about how I worked with the archangels, and the first is whenever I heard an archangel responding to me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I
Oh,
was I was driving. I was still in Reiki school. I was in Reiki school for 2 years, so that was a big part of my journey, and I did so much of my spiritual awakening during that period of time. So I'm driving, and I was listening to a mantra, and I'm on the highway, and I'm driving for like an hour on the highway. There's not a lot of traffic. And I was in a state that could be termed focused inattention, meaning I was focused on driving, but I didn't really need to just
mm,
pay attention to a whole
yeah,
bunch of stuff, right? So I
yeah.
was focused still on something, but my mind was able to go into a more relaxed state, and the mantra and all that kind of stuff assisted that. And I was having these questions. I was having this problem in my relationship, and I'm mulling over it in my mind. And I hear a voice answer me, and it wasn't my voice. It was a male's voice, but it wasn't scary. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm hearing voices. Like it was very soothing. It was very calm. And they answered me. And I said, who are you? And they said, I'm an archangel. And at that point in time, the only archangel I'd ever heard of was Michael. And I said, okay, are you Archangel Michael? They said, no, I'm Gabriel. And Gabriel helped me with everything. And I went and I visited a friend, and I came back, and I used to, during that period of time, I would just watch like spiritual videos on YouTube, but on the TV. That was a really big part of like what I did when I was learning all these different things. So I come back from my little trip, and I click on the TV on YouTube, and the first video that popped up was channeling Archangel Gabriel. And like,
Wow. There we are.
yeah,
Yeah.
which of
Confirmation.
course, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it gave me so much more confirmation. So that was a very unique experience. I had so many. One time during a Reiki session, I was reading Paramahansa Yogananda, one of his shorter books. I forget which one it was before my session. And I went to receive a Reiki session. I literally was like lifting out of my body, and I met Jesus and Paramahansa Yogananda. And like I was in like the astral. I don't I've never astral traveled on purpose. I'm not somebody that tries to do that, but I was definitely like in the astral, and it was so like I can't put it into words. But then I got scared because I was like, what if I won't be able to come back? And I was nervous I'd be like stuck. And so I got scared, and then I dropped back in my body again. And I tried so many times after that one Reiki session to get back in that state. And I just
Never could.
couldn't. Yeah.
Wow. That is
Um,
incredible. Oh,
yeah.
and you know, when you're talking about that, you just light up, Rachel. You can see the beauty of it in your face, in your aura. It's just lovely because it really is genuine. It's so lovely when you
And that's something
experience something.
I tell people too, with like whenever I talk about certain experiences, I'm like, you always had to have these for yourself because we can't put into words what that experience is like. But once you have it, then there's no denying
Yeah,
like there's no denying the presence of a higher power, the presence of, the energy in these beings. And then the final really quick story is whenever I got very into law of assumption and manifestation. And well, basically I had a come to Jesus talk with my higher self. And I was like, I'm done going through the shadow work. Like, I'm done. I screamed at the full moon. I'm like, I am so done. And,
we've all done that, I think. Yeah.
uh, and I went through like this 2 week kind of recalibration period. And then after that, talk about a teacher that, you tried to read their book before and you couldn't. That was Neville Goddard. And I had his book on my coffee table, could never get into it. After that, it like clicked on a whole new level. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try it. And I listened to this one teacher who taught Neville. It wasn't Neville, but they taught from his work. And they said something about whenever you think of money, just say money is flowing to me. I'm like, okay. So I'm still kind of on the struggle bus financially at this point. And so I think of money. I said, money is flowing to me, flowing to me, flowing to me. That was it. And I was so detached from it. Within 20 minutes, I made the biggest sale I ever had made. Just boom on my phone. I'm like, oh
Oh.
my God, it works. And so then I just kept doing it. And then more money kept coming.
Right.
And that's it's like whenever you experience, oh, I actually do have, like, I can create this. I can. And I remember during that time, I'd get random checks. People are like, like law of attraction or The Secret would be like, oh, you'll start getting random checks in the mail. Like, that literally happened. Like, I would get,
Wow.
like, I overpaid on like insurance or something. I got checks in the mail. I'm like, oh my God, like, this actually works. This is
Yeah,
so
yeah.
cool.
That's incredible. Still do it today?
Oh yeah.
What is it? Money is flowing to me, to me, to me. What is it?
Yeah, it was just anytime I would think about it because I
Yeah,
had such a lack mindset. And
yeah.
especially, I was really nervous about finances, especially at that time. So anytime I thought of it, I would just say, money is flowing to me. It's flowing to me. It's flowing to me. And then that's it.
Yeah, but you see that it's that's it is the key. Because you've
Mhm.
got to let it go. You've got to surrender it out there. You can't then be going, it's not coming. It's not coming. Because that
Yes.
is the block.
Yes. And it's easy to get in that space, especially after you do that. And then it comes to you like 20
Yeah,
minutes later.
yeah,
Then you're
yeah.
like, okay, I'm going to do this again. And then 20-minute passes like, hello.
Yeah, actually, now we're going over 20 minutes. What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. So, I just want to sort of finally, if we can, sort of, if someone's listening today who has, really enjoyed this and is feeling that sort of, I'm ready to make my change and everything. We've got the Lionsgate portal coming up this weekend. Woohoo! Now,
Woo.
this is one of my pivotal portals, absolutely every year. And I really do value it. And one of the biggest things I've been getting in these last couple of days is how are you valuing you? Talking about money, but valuing you, right? So, what is it that you want to change as you're going through this portal? And I've been listening to, obviously, you every day doing the manifestation meditation, what have you. Can you do us a little something now and bring into the podcast some little bit of special magic in some way and just give somebody, your beautiful voice and guidance of this Lionsgate portal coming up and what can they do and how can they feel? What should they do? Anything.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So let's just call down the energy of the Lionsgate portal. If you're listening to this, you don't have to close your eyes or anything, but just invite it into your field. Just breathe it in, the pure frequency from the Lionsgate portal. And what is it that you would like it to assist you with right now? Because it is one of the most potent, magical lucky portals. What would you like assistance with? Just calling that in, opening it, opening yourself up to it. Feeling your value, feeling your worth of receiving this. Just allowing it to gently shift your own frequency. One more time, just state your intention. Lionsgate portal, this is my intention. Deep breath in, send that breath all the way down through your feet, growing deep energetic roots, grounding this into you, grounding it into this earthly plane. Now just open to this unfoldment. Trust that you asked, you prayed, you set your intention. Now surrender the how. Allow yourself to be assisted in the most ideal way for you. So be it and so it is. Just giving gratitude. Okay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank
Reiki
you.
Rachel Thompson, thank you so much for joining me all the way from Florida. I've got tears in my eyes. That was just so special. My heart was tingling. I could just feel your energy. It's so beautiful. Thank you. Really, thank
Oh,
you.
thank you for having me on. This has been such a delightful conversation. I really enjoyed this.
Well, that is it for today. Thank you for listening, everybody. I hope that you go over to Reiki Rachel on YouTube. She is just beautiful and so open and enlightening. She is a really special person. So, bye bye for now. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.